I want to ask you, when did you got into like reading the Bible a lot and studying it a lot? Just for the nature of sermons, or how did that happen?
So when I was, like I said, after I repented around 14 years old, and I believe that's when the Lord completely started to drastically change my life. I started to read scripture. I looked at my dad as an example. Every morning before work, I remember waking up, going to school. He'd always be sitting there with his Bible, reading the scripture. And I started to practice that with him. I would sit down with him and we would read together. And it started back then, but then I kind of went on a drought. And then when I really, really started to dig into the scriptures and theology and all of that, ministry actually provoked me and pushed me to do
you had to do it, right?
I had to do it. And
because in some instances, like youth will come up to you and says, hey, so what does this mean, right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of like, okay, we got to dig in here for a moment, right?
Yeah, that's a
kind of
good
like
point.
that, or
that's a good point. Well, I think I just knew subconsciously, or whatever you want to call it, I knew that I had to be prepared if I'm going to be in ministry. And when I was put in ministry at 17 years old,
you're forced to grow. And
I was forced to grow, and I understood, like, I'm here for a reason. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe that it just happened.
Yeah, coincidentally.
I believe that there's a reason why I'm in this position right now.
Right.
And so I understood, if I want to succeed and be a blessing to the people around me, I need to be prepared. I need to have the knowledge. I need to have the experience and all of those things. And I just began reading scripture, preparing sermons, reading theology, digging into theology, studying apologetics, all of those things, to kind of broaden my knowledge on all of these different topics. That way I can at least give some answers no matter what topic is brought up.
Right. So you can serve properly. The passage that sparks in my mind listening to you is, how it says, who will be the vessel of honor shall be prepared for every good work.
Yeah.
Right. So that's truly wanted to relate to our listeners. A lot of young guys listening to us that in a position of ministry, right? And I think that's where me and you kind of, there's a level of, like, obviously, like me too. I was literally I was like 50, like even in Ukraine when I was there, I got baptized when I was 15. Pastors were like, to the pastor meeting, like, why do you want to get baptized? You're only 15. I was like, well, Bible says that when Philip came to the water, he says, what bears me from getting baptized?
There you go.
Pastor's like, okay, God bless.
Good answer.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it was just like, that zealous faith, of a 14, 15-year-old boy. I mean, you don't know a lot of things, right? But you have the zeal for Christ. So knowledge and seeking the knowledge for the purposes of, I